Hey, you. You're finally awake.
G'day Smut Squad and welcome back to the channel. We're looking at the Master System and we're going to be talking about some titles that I think have been forgotten. You may all look at these and go, these aren't forgotten, but I argue this. Are they often the ones that are considered when you first think of the Master System? I think not. So some of you may have heard these games and be very well versed, some of you may have never heard them before, and if you haven't, let me know in the comments below. If you really think I deserve it, please hit that like and hype button, and I'm hoping to get more likes than the concurrent players for Highguard. You can also subscribe and hit the notification bell for more content, join in the weekly podcast, and become part of the Smut Squad at our Discord, and the link is in the description below. Right, let's get into it, shall we? Some forgotten games for the Sega Master System. Captain Silver. This is a rare case where the version you play completely changes the game's quality. While the American NTC release was a butchered 1 megabit cut, the European and Japanese 2 megabit versions are masterpieces of 8-bit arcade ambition, delivering a sprawling pirate epic that vastly outshines its lackluster NES counterpart. You play as a young sailor named Jim, modelled after Treasure Island, who embarks on a quest to find the legendary treasure of Captain Silver. It's a side-scrolling hack-and-slash platformer, as you fight through the haunted towns, pirate ships and tropical islands, using a cutlass that can be upgraded with magical star projectiles. That makes sense. Now, the American version only has 4 levels and 2 bosses. The European and Japanese versions feature 6 levels and 6 bosses and a much more satisfying animated ending, and I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea which version I'm showing here. The Master System version is famous for its large, detailed boss sprites, from a giant green sorceress and a rock-throwing cyclops to a massive fire-breathing dragon. The bosses feel like big events. They utilise the Sega Master System's superior sprite handling to provide a scale that was rarely seen on the NES without massive flickering. Now, while the NES was loft and limited to earthly tones, Captain Silver populated its world with vibrant greens, deep blues and bright purples. The Haunted Town Level 1 uses high contrast colours to create a moody, neon gothic atmosphere that perfectly captures the spooky pirate vibe of the late 80s arcade games. Now, as you collect fairies, your sword upgrades from a simple slash to a projectile weapon. At max power, Jim fires a 5-star spread that fills the screen. The game handles these multiple moving objects with zero slowdown, turning the platformer into a pseudo-shmup game where you can rain down fire enemies from across the screen, which is actually hilarious. One of the most visually distinct and bizarre bosses is the Top Banana, a knight dressed in bright yellow armour. This boss is a PAL-exclusive technical showcase, featuring smooth movement patterns and a unique design that makes him a cult favourite among Master System enthusiasts for his weird but polished aesthetic. The soundtrack is also great. The music is driving and incredibly catchy, utilising the Master System's PSG chip to create rhythmic tracks that actually sound like they belong in a swashbuckling adventure. And this is even better if you've got the Japanese FM sound unit, as it actually becomes a richer experience. The game features impressive visual storytelling through its backgrounds. You don't just jump between random levels, you see the transition from towns to the docks and then onto the ship, and finally to the island. This journey feels enhanced by the expanding endings in the 2 megabit versions, which feature full screen character art. Captain Silver on the Master System is where they took the notoriously difficult and clunky arcade game and fixed the controls, balanced the difficulty, and preserved the large-scale visuals. As long as you play the European or Japanese version, it stands out as one of the most colourful and technically impressive action platformers in the Sega's 8-bit library. Lord of the Sword. Now, where most games in 1988 were linear level-based platformers, Sega had created an interconnected fantasy world that felt like a precursor to the Metroidvania genre. It's a game that rewards patience, exploration, and mastery of its unique projectile combat system. You play as a warrior named Lando. Lando? Landu. Lando. Landiwan. Landadada. Either way, I'll go with Lando. To prove your worthiness to take down the throne of Balbora. For God's sake, stop making these complex names. You must complete 3 legendary quests. Defeat a giant tree demon, slay a dragon, and destroy an evil statue. Well, that last one seems a bit shit. Lord of the Sword is an open-ended side-scrolling adventure. You navigate a sprawling map of forests, mountains and villages, talking to NPCs to gather clues and unlocking new paths to defeating bosses. Now, unlike standard sword swingers, Lanadu, I don't care, relies heavily on his bow. Combat is a rhythmic dance of ducking, jumping and firing arrows at high-speed enemies. The Master System's superior colour palette is on full display here. The forests are deep, layered greens and the mountains feature impressive rocky textures. And because the world is persistent, you'll often see the scenery transition naturally from a bright meadow to a dark, oppressive swamp, creating a genuine sense of travel. Each of the 3 main quests is a visual event. The man-eating tree and the fire-breathing dragon are massive detailed sprites that utilise the Sega Master System's ability to handle large moving objects without the heavy flickering found on other 8-bit systems, and defeating them feels like a monumental achievement due to the screen-filling presence. The game avoids the cutesy tropes of many 8-bit RPGs. The character designs, including Lanny Doodoo, have a gritty, grounded look reminiscent of 80s dark fantasy films like Legend or Willow. This serious art style gives the world of Balborough a unique, mature atmosphere. While many NES games had static backgrounds, Lord of the Sword features multiple layers of scrolling in many areas. This adds a sense of 3D depth to the forests and caves, making the world feel like a physical space you're moving through rather than a flat cardboard cutout. And the user face is remarkably modern for 1988. It clearly displays your health, your current quest items, and a compass system that helps you navigate the non-linear world. The icons are sharp and high contrast, ensuring you always know your status even in the heat of a boss fight. The soundtrack is also quintessential Sega. The main overworld theme is driving heroic anthem that stays catchy even hours after exploration. And the music shifts dynamically in villages and boss rooms using the PSG script to create moody synth layers that reinforce the game's epic scale. Lord of the Sword is a game that asks players to map out a world and solve riddles at a time when most games are just about reaching the right side of the screen. It remains one of the most visually polished and intellectually rewarding adventures of the Master System, standing as a testament to Sega's early prowess in world building. Time Soldier. A conversion of the SNK arcade hit Battlefield, this game takes the overhead run and gun formula and injects it with a time-travelling mechanic that sees you fighting everything from dinosaurs to space marines in a single playthrough. Two soldiers are pulled through a time rift by the villainous Island. You must travel through 5 distinct eras: Primitive Age, Giant Era, World War Age, Age of War, and the Future World to rescue your comrades. It's a top-down, multi-directional shooter, and unlike Ikari Warriors, which is famously sluggish, Time Soldier is fast, fluid, and allows you to fight in 8 directions while moving. At the end of each subsection, you enter a portal to fight a boss from that specific era, requiring a total shift in strategy based on their primitive or high-tech weaponry. The Master System's 32-colour palette is used to create distinct visual identities for every time period. The Primitive Age is filled with lush neon jungles and deep blue water, while the Future World uses cold metallics and glowing purple grids. And this variety prevents the visual fatigue common in top-down shooters of the 80s. Each era concludes with a massive boss such as a towering Tyrannosaurus Rex or a giant multi-segmented mechanical brain. These sprites are incredibly detailed and occupy a large portion of the screen, showcasing the Master System's ability to handle these large sprites. And the animation for the soldiers is surprisingly smooth. Whether you're wading through water or retreating from a tank, the character sprites rotate seamlessly across all directions. This fluidity is essential for high-speed bullet hell moments that define the later stages. The game avoids palette swapping by introducing completely new enemy types for every era. You'll fight cavemen throwing rocks, giant dragonflies, World War II style paratroopers, and hovering laser drones. Each enemy has a unique silhouette and movement pattern, making the world feel reactive and densely populated. And the user face is tucked neatly at the bottom of the screen, displaying your score, lives, and current weapon power-ups. The icons are great, ensuring that you can check your status in a split second during the most intense firefights. And each era has its own theme that reflects the setting: tribal drums for the Primitive Age, and synthesized futuristic beats for the final world. The music drives momentum of the game, keeping the adrenaline high throughout the journey. Time Soldier on the Master System took the foundational run and gun mechanics and applied a brilliant creative hook that kept the visuals and gameplay fresh from start to finish. It remains one of the most colourful and technical competent arcade ports on the system, proving that Sega's 8-bit hardware could handle SNK's chaotic action with ease. Kung Fu Kid. While the NES had the grounded Kung Fu Master, Sega decided to take the foundational beat-em-up formula and infused it with Chinese folklore, wall-jumping acrobatics, and a level of colour that made its contemporaries look grayscale. You play as Wang, Wang, a young martial artist tasked with defeating the evil mad scientist and a supernatural army, because of course, to save the land. It's a fast-paced side-scroller where you move through 7 distinct environments. You fight using a combination of high kicks, low sweeps, and talisman projectiles that you collect from defeated sprites. Unlike the stiff movements of early brawlers, Wang is incredibly agile. You can perform massive vertical leaps and use wall kicks to bounce off the environment to avoid enemies or reach higher ground. The colour palettes are absolutely fantastic because it's the Master System, it really is. Each stage, from the eerie bamboo forest to the fiery caves, use high contrast colours that make the world feel alive. Wang has a surprising number of animation frames for a 1987 release. His walking cycle is smooth and his flying kick is satisfyingly snappy. The enemies, including a hoppy a vampire I can't read, and spinning monks, move with a rhythmic grace that makes the combat feel like a choreographed dance. The game utilises the wraparound vertical logic. When you jump off a wall, the camera tracks Wang's height perfectly, at about 6 inches. Sorry, I'll stop now. This adds a layer of 3D feeling depth to a 2D plane, allowing you to use the environment as a weapon just as much as your fists. Each character ends with a unique boss, ranging from a giant fire-breathing demon to a massive dark sorcerer. And these sprites are massive, and well, you want that because it's a big video game where you want to punch things in the face. The game itself tracks your health and remaining talismans with sharp, easy-to-read icons, and there's also transitions between levels feature stylized art that reinforces the ancient China aesthetic, giving the game a cohesive storybook feel. Kung Fu Kid took the simple premise and elevated it with the supernatural elements and superior hardware. It remains one of the most colourful and fun-to-control action games in Sega's 8-bit library, proving that a great martial arts game needs more than just punches, it needs personality. Black Belt. Originally released in Japan as a tie-in for the legendary Fist of the North Star anime, the Western version was stripped of its license and rebranded into a gritty standalone martial art epic. It's a game which I feel disappointed now I know it was part of the legendary Fist of the North Star anime. Damn you, America, for not liking anime at the time. You play as Ricky, a martial artist on a quest to rescue his girlfriend, Kyoko, from the clutches of 6 rival masters, culminating in a final showdown against his arch nemesis Wang. Oh, Wang's back again! Damn it, Wang! The game alternates between side-scrolling mob sections where you thin out waves of foot soldiers and intense one-on-one boss duels that take place on a single screen. It's all about the Thousand Fist Flurry. When you land a finishing blow on the boss, the game rewards you with a cinematic rapid-fire strike that literally makes the opponent explode from a cloud of pixels because it's Fist of the North Star, damn it! God's sake, America! Ugh. When you reach your boss, the scale shifts. Ricky and his opponents are massive, they're detailed figures that occupy nearly half the vertical screen. This gives the duels a heavyweight feel that was light years ahead of the tiny flickering sprites using Urban Champion or Kung Fu on the NES. The Master System takes every stage and turns it into a vibrant comic book panel, from the Sega blue skies of the very first level to the deep moody purples of the final fortress. The game uses high saturation colours to make the 8-bit world look clean, sharp and modern. One of the most satisfying sights in 8-bit gaming is the Death Bloom, where Riki defeats a sub-boss or a main rival. They don't just fall over, they disintegrate into a shower of sparks and fragments. It's a carryover from Fist of the North Star roots that provides it a sense of power every time you win. Would have been great if blood flew everywhere, but no, probably not allowed that one, are we? As Ricky runs through the wasteland or across rooftops, the distinct mountains and cityscapes move at different speed, creating a sense of 3D depth and fastness in what otherwise is a simple 2D plane. The audio design focuses on the thud. Every punch and kick is a distinct heavy sound effect that makes the combat feel tactile. The soundtrack is a collection of high-driving, high-tempo anthems that uses the PSG chip to create heroic atmospheres, pushing you forward through the endless wave of enemies. And between the chaos, the game uses high-resolution static portraits to tell its story. These screens showing Ricky's stoic face or a sneer of the villain utilise the Master System's colour depth to create moody, noir martial arts vibe that makes the journey feel more like just a high-scored chase. By stripping away the anime license, Sega actually highlighted the game's core technical strength, its massive characters, and its relentless high-impact action, and it remains a definitive example of how the Master System could actually deliver big screen energy on an 8-bit budget. New Zealand story. While most 8-bit ports of Taito's arcade legend felt like hollow imitations, the Master System is fantastic. It captures the sprawling maze-like levels and anything-goes vehicle physics that made the original cult classic. It's a game that hides a brutal challenge behind the most adorable art style in gaming. You play as Tiki, a brave Kiwi bird whose friends have been kidnapped by a giant leopard seal and sold to zoos across New Zealand. You must navigate across New Zealand to try and rescue them. It's a non-linear exploration platformer. Instead of just moving right, you have to find keys, navigate through warp holes, and fly through massive multi-directional stages. Tiki is armed with endless supply of arrows, but the real power comes from stealing enemy vehicles. You can hijack balloons, UFOs, and mechanical ducks to rain down fire from the sky. The game uses those high saturation colours to perfectly replicate the candy-coated look of the arcade, and it's one of the most cheerful looking games on the system. Most 8-bit games struggle with scrolling in more than one direction at a time, but the New Zealand story features massive open-ended maps. Tiki can fly upwards for screens at a time, and the background remains stable and flicker-free, creating a genuine sense of aerial freedom. And the game just doesn't stick to tiny characters. From the massive whale boss that you have to fight from the inside, to various mechanical vehicles Tiki can pilot, the sprites are large, expressive and full of personality. And seeing a tiny bird and a giant robotic duck is a technical and comedic highlight. And the stages aren't just platforms, they're intricate mazes filled with spikes, water and hidden passages. and the Master System handles this complexity with ease, maintaining a high frame rate even when the screen is filled with projectiles, bubbles, and multiple flying enemies. The main theme is one of the most recognisable earworms in gaming. The Master System's PSG chip renders that bouncy, high-energy melody with a crisp quality that fits the game's frantic pace. And between the action, the game uses large, colourful character art to tell the story of Tiki's quest. These screens use the Sega Master System's superior colour lane to add that picture book aesthetic, making the stakes feel personal as you see the kidnapped Kiwis waiting for rescue. For the New Zealand story, the team took a complex, hardware-intensive arcade game and successfully translated its soul into an 8-bit cartridge. It remains a definitive way to play Taito's masterpiece on a Sega console, proving that little bird with a bow can take on the entire world if the hardware is powerful enough. And finally, Spellcaster. Blending side-scrolling action, first-person exploration, and menu-driven adventure into a single cohesive supernatural thriller, it's a game that refuses to be pinned down to a single gameplay loop, constantly shifting its perspective to match its high-stakes anime narrative. You play as Kane, a warrior monk tasked by the High Priest Daigaku, we got there nearly, to investigate a series of temple attacks. What starts as a local mystery spirals into a global war against ancient world-ending demons. The game is a shapeshifter. You'll navigate 2D action stages to fight monsters, and then enter adventure mode where you use menus to talk to NPCs, examine rooms, and cast spells in first-person view. It's all about the spirit power. Instead of just swinging a sword, Kane charges up elemental spells. You manage your key to fire off everything from rapid-fire energy bolts to screen-clearing explosions. When the game shifts to its first-person mode, the game presents detailed character portraits, and the NPCs and boss sprites have a distinct 80s anime aesthetic with sharp lines, moody shading, and expressive faces that make the story feel like a playable OVA. During the side-scrolling adventures, Kane moves with a weight and grace that was rare for 1988. The game handles flying mechanics beautifully. Kane can levitate and move freely across the screen while firing projectiles, all without the heavy sprite flickering that plagued similar titles on the era. The environments shift from the tranquil Japanese temples to hellish underworlds, and the distinct view backgrounds in the mountain stages add a layer of 3D scaling to a 2D world. Every spell in Kane's arsenal has a unique visual identity. Whether it's the Cure spell's shimmering glow, or the Storm spell's chaotic lightning, the visual effects are flashy and high impact. And these sprites move independently of the background, showcasing the Sega Master System's ability to handle multiple moving objects simultaneously. The game uses high-resolution cutscene art to bridge the gap between action and adventure. These screens shows Kane travelling across a map or encountering a new boss, using the system's superior colour lane to maintain a dark fantasy tone that keeps the player immersed in the lore. Spellcaster is a game that dared to be three things at once and succeeded at all of them. By complexing the reflex-heavy action of a platformer with the cerebral depth of a graphic adventure, it created a blueprint for the cinematic action RPG that would eventually dominate the 16-bit era. And that's it, some forgotten games to the Master System. You might think I'm chatting bubbles and go, none of these are forgotten at all, and that's fine, put them in the comments below, I like a good roast. Until then, I'll see you all in a few days from the video. My name's been Danny, take care of yourself, follow your dreams.